Today on the DML News podcast, Donald Trump, Elon Musk go on Fox News and they make a lot of waves. They talk about a lot of things that everybody needs to know about. We've got the clips, plus so much stuff about what's going on here in this administration. We're going to try to get to it all, and it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son Dennis on the controls, my son Ryan. We come to you here another day, day 31 of the Trump presidency. We are so proud to be able to deliver to you every single day our opinions, our insights, but most importantly, the facts of what is taking place every single day. Not a day ever misses, and it's going to be like that, God willing. We cover the Trump presidency every single day, including Sundays. It is going to be like that for all 1,400 plus days. And I got to tell you something, it's a fun thing to do. A friend of mine just said to me the other day, he's like, man, you seem like you got a whole bunch of new life into you. I said, I do, because for the last 4 years, I've been depressed and having to report about Joe Biden and that Raggedy Ann wannabe who was the press secretary. I said, now I get to talk about the things that so many of us have wanted for so long: a smaller government, fraud being out, wasteful spending being gone, the borders being closed, dominance on the world stage. Every single last thing that we've been praying for, we're getting. And I'll tell you, they always say that there is no job to prepare anybody for the presidency, except, of course, if you are already president. And Donald J. Trump, I think this is a blessing in disguise that he got that election stolen from him, although we all paid a very dear price, and it's a long way back to cure this cancer that Joe Biden gave us. But Donald J. Trump understands what it takes, and that's what we're seeing in the first 31 days. So if you want to make sure that you're getting all of it, and I mean all of it, because it's that important, it's that interesting, go to 47report.com. That's 47report.com. It's a newsletter. It's completely free. It comes out every single morning before 7 o'clock Eastern, although today it was out at 5 o'clock in the morning. It is filled. In fact, this morning I was sending it out to some of my friends, and they said, we're already getting it. We're already looking at it. This thing is awesome. How the hell are you guys pulling this off? It is the most incredible thing. You will not be disappointed. 47report.com. And on Wednesdays, starting today in the afternoon, you get the extra bonus feature, completely free. Everything's free. You get the MAHA, the Make America Healthy Again report. We do that once a week. Today is going to be the first episode of it, and you'll wind up getting it every single week until we're not making healthy anymore. And as far as I'm concerned, we're going to stay healthy for a very long time. This country is going to change everything around. Now, with that saying, all that needs to be said about the newsletter, let me give you a little insight on something. For past 20 years, I have been in the news and media business, and it has been a wild ride. I've seen everything. And the way that I got involved in it is that I lived 9/11. People who have been with me forever, they know it. I bring it up at least once a month that I lived 9/11. And people don't know this, or maybe they do and they forget it, but 9/11 was actually an immigration issue. We had people from overseas, bad actors, terrorists, people who wanted to see you dead, fill out forms to come over here on visas. They put false information on those visas, and they were able to come over here. Making it even worse, they were allowed to go to flight school, they were allowed to get on airplanes, and then 3,000 people died and all the other different carnage that took place. I don't know if this country has ever recovered from that, but make no mistake, it was an immigration issue. And so for the past 20 years, I've been focusing a lot on immigration, although I touch every single topic. And if you listen to the show, if you watch this show, we hit everything. And I think we hit it pretty well. We're pretty well versed on what's going on out there. It's our business. We do it 7 days a week between the DML News app all day long and then now the newsletter and the podcast. We live and breathe this stuff. But the number one issue for me has always been immigration. Always. And I know we're talking about money getting stolen from Social Security and the IRS and USAID, and we're going to get to all that stuff, and it's very, very important. But at the end of the day, if you cannot control your borders, if you cannot control who is in your country and who is not in your country, If you can't control who you send payments to and who you don't send payments to, you don't have a country. You're just running like Mr. Magoo. You're running blind, you're running deaf, and you're hoping you don't fall off the banister. We're walking a high wire act on this in this country, and I don't think people understand it enough. This is a high wire act. And in a few minutes here, after I'm done with my little opening, we're going to play you some clips from last night's Fox News special that Hannity interviewed both Elon Musk and Donald Trump together. But there were two things that came out of that. One was these two billionaires have an immense amount of respect and friendship between the two of them. But more importantly, is that they are finally going in and recognizing, and they're telling everybody else, if we don't fix this problem, we will be bankrupt. Okay, well, what problem are we going to fix first? Is it the IRS? Is it the Pentagon? Is it USAID? No. See, those are extensions of the problem. The core problem is that nobody is watching the front gate. Nobody's watching what's going on out the back door. Nobody's looking out the side windows. Everybody is just going through the routine. Everybody just gets up in the morning and thinks, well, America's here for me today. It's going to be here for me again tomorrow. What can it do for me? Nobody is protecting the sovereignty and the goodness and the basic principles to which this country is founded on. And that's why it is that people came out in large numbers to vote for Donald J. Trump 3 times. So what we have to do as a country is we have to get back to protecting our front door, watching our back door, and having cameras all around. There needs to be accountability. We have to know what's coming in and what's going out at all times, whether it's money, whether it's assets like our military equipment, or whether it's individuals. Think about this for a moment. There are reports that Ukraine is taking some of the equipment, the military apparatus that we've sent them, and now selling it on the black market. This is crazy. Why are we doing this? Donald J. Trump wants to bring an end to all of it. But where do you start? Where do you start? What issue do you take a look at first and say, this is where I'm going to put my energy first? And when I fix this, all the other different stuff will start to follow. I am telling you, as a person who's done this almost every day for the past 20 years, I could answer that question with my eyes closed, half asleep, walking upside down and backwards. We must rid all of the illegal aliens in this country. All of them. Not just the ones who are criminals, who are committing murders and rapes and the most egregious assaults that when you see the videos online, you can't believe that somebody is willing to do that to another person. All of them. I've said it on this show before. If you got a big, huge bucket and it's all filled with illegal aliens, and 10% of that bucket are the really bad human beings, the ones who are just bad amigos, they do all the bad stuff, you still got a bucket that's 90% full. You still got a problem for your schools, your hospitals, your jails, your housing market. You know, Dennis and I covered this about 2 weeks ago. There was a JP Morgan report that said we're 1.5 million homes short in this country. We have a shortfall of homes, be it for purchase or for rent. And they attributed it to the high number of legal aliens that are in this country. We are all paying more for everything because of the illegal aliens in this country. To me, that's the biggest problem. Take the other guys, the big bad ones, lock them up in the jails. Let's start getting rid of the people who are draining our society, draining our pockets. Now you may say, oh, come on, Dennis. Some of these people are just really nice people. They just came over here to pick lettuce. They're doing the jobs Americans don't do. That is a lie. That is a lie. The majority of these people who are working here in the United States of America have stolen or fake Social Security cards. They got Social Security cards of people who are 300, 200, and 150 years old. Now, I know it's a running joke, and some people are like, oh, well, you know what? The kids of the parent who died must still be collecting the check. Listen, if you think that's the crux of the problem, If you think little Johnny next door, who you always said, he was a little crooked when he was a kid. I always knew he was going to do something. If you think he's the problem in this Social Security mess, where we've got 394 million people on the rolls and only 340 million people who are actually considered citizens, if you think it's little Johnny next door, or if you think it's Sal, who's part of the mob, think again. The majority of the people who are collecting these monies that shouldn't be collecting them are the illegal aliens in this country. They are getting tax returns for thousands upon thousands of dollars. They are then getting child tax credits for their children. They're getting checks for their children. Some of their children are back in Mexico, back in other countries, and we're giving them checks. This is a given. This has been happening for decades. And people like myself, we've been screaming at the top of our lungs. And then people tell you that we're selling fake news. And it's not fake news. And the government has come back and said, oh, no, that's baloney. We're not sending anything to that. You are too. You are too. Look what just happened with all the people coming on over in the parolee program. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of applications filled out by one pen, all going to one P.O. box. You're going to tell me the fraud is not there? We're finding it. And people like me have been screaming about this forever. So I feel like I've got the loudest voice at the table right now. I have the right to say what I want to say here. Your hard-earned money, money that should be going to you, that should be going to your parents, it's going to illegal aliens. And it's wrong. Now, the great news is that Trump and Musk are talking about the fact that every American taxpayer is going to get a $5,000 refund, quite possibly, with the money that was saved from Doge. Doge has saved so far $55 billion, and it continues to go up. And the idea is, let's give that out to the American people because they deserve it. Well, that's nice. There's no doubt I know I would like to have a $5,000 check. But I can tell you this, I've been paying a lot more than $5,000 every year into my taxes. And I don't think my money has been going where it's supposed to be going. Now, personally, I think it would be more fair if those checks were handed out proportionally based on how much you've paid into the system. Because once again, we're just solving one problem to create another. How many people pay taxes, cheat on their taxes, only write a check for $50, get away with everything, and now they're going to get a $5,000 check. I mean, while I do my taxes every single year like an honest Abe, and I pay a CPA on top of that. You probably do too. Or if you're retired, you did too. Based on the idea that you knew that you would be collecting your Social Security one day. Hearing now that Social Security is going to run out by 2030. Well, gee, how can it not? We're giving away to 50 million people who don't deserve a check. We're giving it to them. I'm going to play a video for you. It is one of the best videos I have seen in a long time. And I will be the first one to tell you, and I know a lot of you agree with me, and this is going to sound a little cocky, so forgive me on this day for being a little cocky. If you want somebody on television talking about the nuances and the crimes connected to illegal immigration, how the American taxpayer, the American citizen is getting their ass kicked from it, I would be your guy. I would tell you, there is nobody else. You want me. I will tell you that I'm going to play a video for you right now that lasts 3 minutes. We don't play videos that last 3 minutes. This one's going for 3 minutes because there's a gentleman named Stephen Miller, and he's in the White House. And he was in the White House the first term, and he's in the White House this term. And he is a hawk when it comes to immigration. And he went on CNN, and he just literally tore the ass off the liberal idiot who was trying to make him feel guilty. In the sense of saying, wait a second, you're going to now go audit the IRS from Doge, and if you find that illegal aliens were taking checks and that you find that they were getting child tax credits, you're going to go after these people for deportation? These liberals just don't get it. They just do not get it. Ryan, chalk up that video. We're going to play this video here, and then we're going to come back and discuss it quickly with Dennis.
You mentioned yesterday, and you mentioned again here, illegal immigrants who are getting child tax credits. Are you looking for that information in the IRS data?
Anytime a crime is committed, of course there should be an investigation. Is it your position that if somebody who is
Stephen,
here
are you looking for that
criminally is stealing
information in the
taxpayer
IRS
dollars?
data?
the federal government will find every illegal alien who is stealing American taxpayer dollars. And that's what Americans expect to happen.
Will you find that in the IRS
I don't
data
even
and
fathom
share
the
that with
premise
law
of your
enforcement?
question.
It's a simple question. Will you find that information in the IRS data and share that with law enforcement?
If IRS investigators find illegal aliens stealing taxpayer money, of course they'll be referred to ICE. Of course they'll be referred to Homeland Security investigations. Of course it will be. Surely your position is not that we should let illegal aliens steal taxpayer dollars. Again, you want to talk about something to be upset about, that's it. What do you think? The millions of illegal aliens who've also stolen Social Security. Illegal aliens in mass have fake Social Security numbers. They have fake identities. Those are felonies. Why should there be an entire class in this country that is immunized from criminal prosecution and arrest for committing felonies? Felony theft of taxpayer information, felony theft of Social Security, felony theft of identity. These are all crimes. And yes, they will be investigated. Yes, they will be prosecuted. And yes, illegal aliens will be deported. And you know what happens when those deportations occur?
Just very quickly,
is that Americans will get jobs, Americans will get benefits, Americans will get houses.
Stephen, if they got a credit, a child tax credit, and they will be referred, you're saying, to ICE for that, and you would expect deported for that? Is that the position of the administration?
If it is found that a crime has been committed, they'll be referred. If it justifies a prosecution, they'll be prosecuted. If it justifies a deportation, they will be deported. This will be based on existing IRS protocols and procedures for criminal investigation and fraud.
All right,
the difference is that no one is given immunity anymore. No one is given permission to break the law anymore. Because this is not a country, this is not a sovereign territory. If illegal aliens can freely steal billions, with a B, billions of taxpayer dollars. And I would have to imagine that CNN, which is endlessly talked about the importance of democracy and the rule of law, would say that no class in this country should be above the law, least of all illegal aliens who've trespassed on our territory.
No, Stephen, I'm just asking, I wanted to get your position on some things. We're not taking a position here. We wanted to get some answers to some questions. There are so many questions that need to be answered.
It doesn't sound to me like you are, in fact,
you.
Indifferent or unbiased on these questions, but thank you.
Stephen Miller.
You know, Dennis, I'm just looking here on Facebook and some of the live comments. I have one here from Judy, and Judy says, coming in the front door is great. It's not okay to come in the window and collect benefits. No, Judy, I'll tell you what, you're absolutely wrong right now. I understand what she means by the concept of, hey, if you want to come here legally. No, I just told you the story of 9/11. We had 19 people come here legally, and wound up being terrorists. We don't have anybody checking the door, Julie. What we have is we have a rubber stamp system. Oh, you filled out an application? Approved, 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 approved. That's what it is. We have to stop all of it. You know, that's the other thing, too. We've got 1 million+ people right now, Dennis, coming into this country legally still. Trump hasn't turned off that spigot. We need to turn off that spigot. We have no checks and balances. We can't figure out where our money is being spent, where our checks are being written. There's no flag on any of this stuff. We just talked about that yesterday, and we got people coming in from countries that harbor terrorists. You can't come in the front door. You're not coming in the back door. You're not coming in the sides. We need to shut it all down.
It's like what we've been saying. If we're using the house analogy, to your point, it's got to be shut down, and there's a lot of cleanup to be done in the house too. You know, so. Stephen Miller, you kind of just said it yourself. I mean, he has been someone who has been by Trump's side since the very beginning.
Yep.
I mean, as you said, other than you, I don't know anyone who's a more staunch immigration hawk that can actually verbalize the message, you know, clear as day. And you could just tell how much he stumped that CNN, host there. But to his point, you know, if they are committing crimes, which they already started by doing so when they crossed the border, you know, they're grounds for arrest and deportation. It's a very clear as day message that somehow the trinklets of the CNN types still don't comprehend.
They don't. And you know what? At the end of the day, the American people have given an incredible amount of trust to Washington, D.C. and to the media, and they have been betrayed each and every step along the way. Now, one of the good things we want to show you, Ryan's going to start playing it on the side, is that there are deportation flights. What you'll see here up on the screen is there are deportation flights going out of Seattle. This was all filmed. They're actually, people being locked up. They're being put onto planes. They're being dropped off to their home countries. There was a report that we have on 47 report that we talked about today Last week, we deported 300 really bad illegal immigrants, dropped them off in Panama, illegal aliens, sorry, dropped them off in Panama, and now 170 of them are actually going back to their home countries. The key is they better hold them in those countries, you know? And this is what people have to understand. If you want the government to fix everything, if you want Elon Musk and Donald Trump to fix everything that's out there, that's great. What good is it if you clean up the entire education system only to still have illegal alien kids going in and raping that illegal alien state, education system? What good is it if you lower prescription prices, lower insurance prices, so this way your premiums are less for when it is that you need to go to the doctor, but then when you go to the emergency room, you're 19th in line because you got to wait for illegal aliens? This is what I'm talking about. You cannot clean up some and not clean up all. And if you're going to clean up all, you got to say, where do I start? And you got to start by cleaning up the people.
I think you would agree here too. It's like you really need the backbone for it, because I've seen too many times. I mean, we're going to be talking about Sean Hannity in a little bit. He's a notorious one for, oh, we need to clean up illegal immigration, and yet he was one of the people vouching for amnesty.
That's right.
So one of my worries is that clearly the issue that Tom Homan and a lot of these guys are facing right now is the logistics issues of how do we, arrest these criminals, get them deported, and finish out this process without, appearing as if we're inhumane or that we're doing these Gestapo things. And they're clearly not. These people are criminals. If they cross the border illegally, you are a criminal. So they have to contend with the CNN types. They have to contend with the sanctuary city laws. It is a nonstop process. So what I don't want to see is that you get some of the conservatives who've been vouching for it that are going to then all of a sudden say, oh, you're arresting, the sweet little innocent families that, were just living here illegally but not doing any harm. I don't want to see that narrative come back.
Listen, it's going to come back. It's always there. It's always, you need guys like Stephen Miller and Tom Homan to be on television. Even Christy Noam, she seems to be she's starting to get a little rough around the edges too. That's what we need. We just need tough. I don't want to hear about your sob story. Let me push back on those sob stories, right? Number one, go to jails right now across America. Take out the illegal aliens that are in the jails and take a look at the other people who are in there. They committed crimes. You know how many of those men that are in jail right now have children at home who are fatherless? Where was the heartstrings? Where was the empathy and the sympathy when that happened about separating families? We didn't give a rat's ass. If you're an American, you break the law, you're going to jail. You got 4 kids at home, you should have thought about that before you broke the law. But all of a sudden, you say that your name is, from some foreign country and you're here illegally and you're a migrant. Then all of a sudden you get special treatment. Well, we're going to think about you differently. We don't want to separate you from your family. My ass. You're a horrible criminal. You broke into my country. You came in here illegally. You have no respect for my country. You're stealing Social Security cards. You're out there stealing jobs. You're raising the prices of everything. You're destroying my schools. You're backing up the hospitals. You're driving around without licenses. You're hurting people. You're killing people. And you're taking money. Get the F out of here. I don't want to hear anything about you. I don't care about your kids. I don't care about it at all. Yeah, all right. So what? Your kids came over here and you gave them a raw deal? Your kids have been living like kings and queens, little children. It's time to go home. That's it. When my kids don't have sneakers, when my kids don't have shoes that they have to wear, like the other kids have because they've all got all the money and my kids don't have the money, nobody comes over and gives me a brand new pair of Nikes. When I go away, if I went to New York right now with my kids and I said, hey man, I don't got money for a hotel, nobody's going to put me on the Park Avenue Hotel in a swanky little thing, pay for it and give me 3 shekels a day. Nobody's going to do that. Why are we doing it for these people who come over here and bring in diseases and bring in crimes? It makes no difference to me where they're from. I don't care if they're from Ireland, they're from Mexico, they're from Australia. I don't care if they're white, black, pink, or polka dotted. Get the F out of my country. You don't deserve to be in here. That's it. And cut off the spigot of the 1 million+ people who are coming here legally, who are coming legally on forms that nobody is checking. They're just stamping. In fact, if people don't know this, when people come in, overseas, and they come into the airports, the customs agents who are there, the ICE agents are there, are timed. They are timed. They are not allowed to spend too much time on one person. So you got somebody who's coming from another country. You've got to take a look at this person, their identification. You've got less than 2 minutes to make an assessment whether or not you should let this person go through or not. That is not the way to protect your homeland. It's not the way to protect your money. It's not the way to protect your citizens. And yet that's what this country has been doing for decades upon decades upon decades. And it's still happening today.
Yeah, 2 minutes. I don't even think 2 hours is enough. So this idea that it has to be this quick expedited process at the cost of our safety and security is absolutely backwards. So I think it's great when you have people like Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, at least go. I mean, like you mentioned it, right? Kristi Noem, she just released that video. She didn't say we're coming for you. She said we will hunt for you. All right, like
for you.
you got it's like it's all about the messaging of you cross over, and we've seen those numbers drop at least since Trump came over. But the message still is, if you come over, you're subject to arrest and deportation. That's how it's going to work.
Yeah, and look, and I know, not everything's got to be the sky is falling. Not everything's got to be this is the worst thing in the world. I mean, every day I wake up, I say to God, thank you for another day, right? And I don't say thank you another day so I could go scream about illegal immigration on my podcast. I thank you for another day for this beautiful opportunity to live and be in this unbelievable country that still is the best country in the world despite of all our problems. But if I had Elon Musk and Donald Trump last night on TV, I got to tell you something. I'm not going to sit there and ask them about their bushy, nice little friendship and how did you guys come together and all this other stuff. I don't give a rat's ass. I care about one thing. You guys get along? Great. 3 seconds. See how quick that was? You guys seem to be getting along. Yeah, good. Next question. That's it. And I would have sat there and said, Mr. Trump, what are we going to do right now about the illegal aliens that are in the country illegally, who aren't committing heinous crimes, but who are stealing money from the American people? And what are we going to do about the 1 million people, or better yet, the 100,000 that are coming in this month right now that we really can't check, especially, sir, and I agree with your assessment, we need to make the government smaller, but we now have less people checking in everywhere. We got less people in every department across every agency. Fantastic. Who's checking and vetting these people? What are we doing to stop that? Elon, what are we doing to stop that? That's my question number one. We don't have to wait about all this fluff and Hannity talking about, oh yeah, I walk into a restaurant and half the people can't stand me because I like Trump. Who gives a shit about Sean Hannity? Get out of the way, get me in there, let me ask the questions, and we're going to have a full hour of real answers. And if you don't have a real answer, Mr. President, I voted for you 3 times, love you to death, think you're the bravest guy in the world, but go home, get an answer with Elon, come back tomorrow, I'll have you back on. I want a solid answer for the American people.
It's a good point. I mean, I had to watch that interview last night. I don't know why they still continue to give Sean Hannity that opportunity. The amount of times he's using I and talking about himself. But to your point, those questions definitely could have been better handled to address the glaring red alarm, which is illegal immigration. So I would be more remiss to see that Trump go back to doing what he was doing on the campaign trail if he is going to do some of these interviews. Some of the more alternative voices out there.
Yeah. Well, we have videos lined up. We're going to start playing them for you here in case you didn't get the interview. Ryan, make sure I could hear these things when you're playing them. The first one, I think, is a video to where they're talking about pushing back that nobody, the big thing for the media is nobody elected Elon Musk. Great response from Elon. Take a play.
I think. What all we're really trying to do here is restore the will of the people through the president. And what we're finding is that there's an unelected bureaucracy. Speaking of unelected, there's a vast federal bureaucracy that is implacably opposed to the president and the cabinet. And you look at, say, DC voting, it's 92% Kamala. Okay, so we're in 92% Kamala. That's a lot.
They don't like me here either.
I think about that number a lot. I'm like 92%. That's basically almost everyone.
Yeah.
And so, but how can you, if the will of the president is not implemented, and the president is representative of the people, that means the will of the people is not being implemented, and that means we don't live in a democracy, we live in a bureaucracy. And so I think what we're seeing here is the thrashing of the bureaucracy as we try to restore democracy and the will of the people.
Now, one of the ways that came up, Dennis, is that the criticisms of Elon Musk and the Doge team are nonstop. If you look at the first video we played with Miller and CNN, the crux of that conversation was criticism from CNN about what Doge is doing in terms of all of its investigations. And that's how it stems into this. And one of the things Trump said last night is, when you've got people screaming at you that you're committing crimes, those are the people who are really the ones who are guilty of the crime committing.
Of course, it's they're the ones pointing the fingers, and yet let's put the mirror in front of them. So
Yeah.
and what I think they're doing is something super unique that only happens in certain presidencies, which is really just the clearing of the house. You know, that the corruption has just festered for so long. There's so much of the money from things like USAID and other, crazed agencies that aren't really, as Elon said, serving for the will of the people based on what the president's directives are. We really are in a bureaucracy. It doesn't feel like a democracy. I mean, 2020 did not feel like I voted. My vote actually meant anything in that sense.
Of course. And just going on a side note here, I just looked at another comment that came in from Facebook from a David Lawrence. He says, "This ain't Disney World. No, it's time all illegals saw the dark side of our magic kingdom." And I got to tell you something. It's amazing that he's using that metaphor. One of the last times that I was ever on Fox News, because I got in trouble for what I said here, Megyn Kelly had me on. And it was at the time when all the illegals were coming through in the surge for Barack Obama. And they asked me if I would go down to Texas and take a look at it, because back in those days, I was the only guy who really went and did that. Everybody goes there now, but back in those days, it was just me. So I go down there. And I come back and I'm like, my God, there's so many people. I've never seen so many people. They're handing out bus tickets, and Department of Homeland Security is giving out, pamphlets on what to do. It's like we're enabling this stuff. And then Megyn says to me, "Yes, but Dennis, there's a humanitarian crisis down there, all these children." And I said, "Oh, Megyn, are you kidding me? These kids are in line for freaking Space Mountain." That's what it is. If anybody's ever been to Space Mountain at Disneyland, what was it? It was a pain in the ass to wait for 2 hours, but then you went on the best ride of your whole entire life, right? That's it. The party's over. The ride is over. Space Mountain is shut down. We're turning the lights on. You're going home. That's it. And this is what Elon Musk is saying. This is a bureaucracy. You are having people who are facilitating everything against the Constitution and getting away with it, whether it's sending money to nefarious places or allowing illegal aliens to trample over people who have paid and died for this country.
I don't think Democrats have given any super good reason yet for anything regarding the payments of, 10 million to Mozambique and then 45 million to Burma for DEI. They never talk about how any of those initiatives somehow are beneficial to the American taxpayer, just that they need our money in order to do those things for those countries.
Well, do you see how CNN played that video with Miller? That right there is the poster child of the Democrat. She's going to sit there and use her little spanky, skanky voice. "Oh, so you're going to go after children, blah, blah, blah." And then he says to her, he calls around. He's like, "Really? What do you suggest we do?" They never say what they suggest. They never say what
she
they
even
suggest.
says it there. She's like, "We're neutral over here."
We're neutral.
Yeah,
My
the
ass.
tone
ass.
doesn't give that.
I would like Steve Miller to say, "How do you feel about $200 million going to another country so this way they can put on porn shows?" How do you feel about that? Let me quiz you. This is CNN. I ask the questions. No, I'm asking the questions. Your viewers need to know who you are and who you are not. And you're not a good American if you're thinking that what's going on in this country prior to Trump is a good thing. Now, with that being said, another video clip here. Trump right now, one of the problems we have, and this is a huge problem. I know everybody right now is sort of just still happy on the Happy Meal, but remember what happens after you go to McDonald's. It feels great when it's going down, and then you go home and you said, "I can't believe I ate McDonald's." This is what we're going to wind up having if we don't turn these executive orders into laws. Because right now, all they are is a piece of paper. And the next person who comes in, just like Nancy Pelosi ripped up Trump's speech, they could rip it up and it all goes back to the way it was. We need these things on laws. And so what they're talking about here is Trump was saying, "Hey, man, the executive orders, I thought, I signed an executive order. It should be in play." Well, no, he signed an executive order that we no longer were going to have monies being spent on illegal aliens. And not a week after he signs the executive order, money is being sent from FEMA, right, to pay for these posh hotels in New York. And therefore, that's why Elon Musk is sitting in. And now he's starting to look at the technology and seeing all the things. He's tech support. So here you go.
You should say tech support because I'm here to provide the president with technology support. And now that may seem like, well, is that a silly thing? But actually, it's a very important thing because the president will make these executive orders, which are very sensible and good for the country, but then they don't get implemented. So if you take for example, all the funding for the migrant hotels, the president issued an executive order. Hey, we need to stop taking taxpayer money and paying for luxury hotels for illegal immigrants, which makes no sense. Like, so obviously, people do not want their tax dollars going to fund high-end hotels for illegals, and yet they were still doing that even as late as last week. And so, we went in there and we're like, this is in violation of the presidential executive order. It needs to stop. So what we're doing here is one of the biggest functions of the DOGE team is just making sure that the presidential executive orders are actually carried out. And this is, I just want to point out, this is a very important thing because the president is the elected representative of the people. So he's representing the will of the people. And if the bureaucracy is fighting the will of the people and preventing the president from implementing what the people want, then what we live in is a bureaucracy and not a democracy.
I was going to say the two big words they kept using last night regarding their leadership style was competence and caring.
Yeah.
Competence in the sense of, having people who can actually understand what's going on. I mean, even the Doge team, a big credibility to that, and Trump described them as high IQ intellectuals, is that they have no stake in the bureaucracy. Their stake is in America. They want to see their country thrive, but they're not worried about a funnel of money not getting to them or this senator not, pocketing this and getting it back to them. They're outsiders. They're kids, essentially, depending how you look at it. But they're bright. They're brilliant. They know they're going to go in and what they need to get done is going to get done. And Trump's big theme last night was Elon gets it done. We want to get it done. That's always been Trump. And then the caring part is that you got to actually have a love for the country. If you just have a love for, I was able to get an early trade in on that stock, or that USAID fund, half of it went to my bank account, then you don't love the country. You love abusing the country for your benefit. If they can keep to that messaging, the competence and the caring, that's a winning combo. They just got to implement it nationwide.
I think we have Trump sort of talking about this. Ryan, let's play the next clip about the Doge team and the alleged corruption.
So they sign a contract in a government agency, and it has 3 months, and the guy leaves that signed the contract, and nobody else is there, and they pay the contract for 10 years.
Yeah.
So the guy is getting checks for years and years and years, and he's telling his family, obviously, maybe it was crooked, maybe he paid to get the contract, or maybe he paid that they didn't terminate it. But, we have contracts that go forever, and they've been going for years. And they're supposed to end in 3 months or 5 months or 2 years or something, and they go forever. So the guy is either crooked, where he knew this was going to happen, or he's crooked because he's getting payments that he knows he shouldn't be getting. But they're finding things like that. They're finding things far worse than that. And they're finding billions, and it will be hundreds of billions of dollars worth of fraud. I say waste and abuse, but fraud, waste, and abuse. And he's doing an amazing job. And he attracts a young, very smart type of person. I call them high IQ individuals, and they are. They're very high IQ. And when they go in to see the people and talk to these people, the people think they're going to pull it over. They don't. These guys are smart, and they love the country. There's a certain something. But he uses the word care. So people have to care.
We see that it looks like the screen is running a little slow there. It must be the internet of some kind. But, that's what Trump's talking about is that, and this is what I was going back to what I said in the beginning. If you have no controls, if you have nobody watching the front door, what's coming in and what's going out the front door? Think about what he just said. You sign up for a contract. It's a 10-year contract. After 3 years, they're not using your services anymore, but they're still going to pay you on the contract. It doesn't make any sense. And what Trump is saying is like, hey, listen, even if we signed a 10-year contract, let's at least go in and negotiate it and say, hey, we're going to buy you out of the 7 months remaining or the 7 years remaining. All right, we owed you $70,000. Here's $30,000. No, I'm not taking it. Okay. $35,000 or you get nothing. Nobody's doing that. They just keep on spilling our money out the door. And these people are sitting home. They're just collecting it. They're collecting the free money. And the issue is that if you give people free money, they're going to take free money. That's what it is. And the thing is that here's Trump talking like a common sense human being. I mean, you don't need to be a billionaire to talk like that. All you need to do is be a person with common sense. And there is really, especially now in this time, in this new second 2.0 Trump, there are very few times, Dennis, when I ever hear Trump speaking as if he lacks common sense. You know,
Yeah, I mean, he's someone that I feel like he's even more refined than comparably with his 2016. You know, I mean, he knows the game at this point. He knows how to talk to some of these politicians, but he also knows how to relate to the American people. I mean, he's versatile. You know, he's one of the most successful businessmen in America, and yet he's also the guy who realizes I could just go sit home and hang out, but I want to see my country thrive and survive. I'm going to run for president again. You know, so he just has that. He's always about it's just common sense. It's all about competency. And if you give a damn, then you're always going to be someone who is going to succeed and be loved by the people.
absolutely. But we know that there are just so many people out there who have what's called Trump derangement syndrome. And Elon Musk describes it when he actually when he faced it not so long ago before the election. Ryan, play that video.
Because so I got invited to basically a big sort of damn event that was, but it received the invitation like the beginning of last year, and I still attended even after I'd endorsed President Trump, and I didn't realize how profoundly that would affect how I was received. I mean, I walk into the room and I'm getting just the dirty looks from everyone. Like if looks could kill, I would have been dead several times over.
I was going to say, just Elon there. I think overall it's very clear, and they talk about it with the friendship aspect. I know you were saying who cares so much, but I think what is interesting is they are both successful businessmen, but just in their own different realms. Elon Musk more with the science side and trying to his mission to get to Mars, whereas Trump, has always been on the real estate and just building side. And I think, depending with how these 4 years can really play out, when you have two brains like that kind of coming together, one in the executive leadership, the other, really trying to be the tech support. It really, I know you wrote it in the 47 report. It's like a Batman and Robin winning duo, so to say.
Yeah, it is. In fact, and the media is trying to break that whole thing up. We have one more clip, and Ryan will play that clip, and then I'm going to make a comment on a comment I see here on Facebook. Go ahead.
Elon called me. He said, they're trying to drive us apart. I said, absolutely. No, they said, we have breaking news. Donald Trump has ceded control of the presidency to Elon Musk. President Musk will be attending a cabinet meeting tonight at 8 o'clock. And I say, It's just so obvious. They're so bad at it. I used to think they were good at it. They're actually bad at it, because if they were good at it, I'd never be president. Because I think nobody in history has ever gotten more bad publicity than me. I could do the greatest things. I get 98% bad publicity. I could do, outside of you and a few of your very good friends, it's like the craziest thing. But you know what I have learned, Elon? The people are smart. They get it.
Yeah, they do, actually.
They get it. They really see what's happening.
It's the media, Dennis. It's always been the media. The media's play is that they're going to dictate a narrative. And they're going to try to do whatever they can to conquer and divide. They're going to try to lie to the American people. Go back to the COVID stuff. I mean, today, I mentioned in the beginning of the show that today is going to be our first weekly newsletter dedicated to RFK Jr.'s Make America Healthy Again. It's part of 47report.com. So if you go to 47report.com and put in your email address, you get our daily newsletter about Trump and everything in the administration. And then on Wednesdays, we do it. And today, my big story is going to be about a little birdie that whispered to me that the administration is seriously considering putting a complete ban, doesn't matter your age or where it is, a complete ban on the COVID vaccine, because it's coming out to be that people saying this is no good. We cannot distribute this anymore. But the media are the ones who sold us that thing was beautiful and clean and nothing bad would ever happen to you.
I mean, can you imagine the fallout from that? That is very huge for them to come. I mean, there's going to be a lot of anger there, especially, I know every time they try to, Congress does a subpoena to the, big pharma people, and they always give those redacted reports. I mean, if there really is blatant federal approved transparency on it, that is going to be huge.
Huge. And then there's another thing here too. The media has pushed a narrative that the people who are here illegally, and I know we're pounding on the illegal immigration thing here today, but you get me revved up on this conversation, you're not going to get me revved down. There's a person here on Facebook. I'm going to read this person's comment. Illegals are not monsters like Frankenstein. So stop acting like the hungry mob. This is being used as part of the propaganda to think the problems are them and not what they are doing in Washington, D.C. Let me tell you how far off the mark you are. You better hold on to the rails because you're about to fall from whatever perch you're stoned on. That's the propaganda that comes from the media, that these people are just good, hardworking people. Think of the kind of person you need to be to break into somebody's country, then go and steal somebody's social security card, then go and live off the teat of another human being and do whatever it is that you want to do and break the laws and not have a license and not have insurance and not have any of the things that these people do every single day. You're going to tell me that these people aren't Frankenstein? Let me give you a little story. All right. There was a nice guy who's working so hard, doing the whole 9 yards. Oh, yeah, I'm really working hard. And he liked this girl, this American girl he worked with. But the girl had no interest in him. But she still tried to be nice, sort of like you are about how they're not Frankensteins. Well, he's not a Frankenstein. He just likes me. Yeah. So after years of working with this person, years, he says, come on, let's go on a date. And she says, no. But every Friday, the entire company all went out to a happy hour. And her father just so happened to work for that same company. And so what winds up happening is the father was at the happy hour and he was waiting for his daughter to get there. His daughter never came there. What happened? Well, the illegal said to her, look, I can't go today. Can you give me a ride home? My car broke down. Absolutely, because she was a nice person, a good friend. She worked with him for years. He's not a Frankenstein. So he puts him in the car. She drives him to go home. He makes her pull over in the back of a field, takes her out, rapes her, chops her up, puts her into bags, puts her in the back in the trunk. Then after that, goes to the bar and has a cocktail with the father and says, no, I have no idea where your daughter is. After he has the cocktail, he goes back to just check on everything. And he sees, believe it or not, that despite the fact that he slashed her all up, she's still breathing. And then he made sure for certain that she was dead. And then he burned her alive. That is what you're dealing with. So you would tell me, you would have the audacity to sit here in my face before that crime happens and tells me he's just a hardworking guy. He just doesn't have papers. My ass. He has a mentality that he can break and enter. Anybody who breaks and enter, you're going to have somebody who breaks into your home and enters into your home uninvited and starts eating your food and taking your clothes and taking your food and everything else that you worked so hard for and raping your kid or doing whatever else they're doing. You're just going to allow that to happen and sit there and say, this isn't a Frankenstein? You're out of your mind. You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. The problem is the people in D.C. and the people who are coming in here illegally. It's a dual problem. It's like peanut butter and jelly. They're mixing together for perfect crime. So do not separate it out. Anybody who's in this country illegally is a criminal. Anybody who walks into your house uninvited is a criminal. In fact, in Florida, you walk into my house, I'm allowed to shoot you. It's called stand your ground. If we had, and there's a reason why nobody's breaking into my house in Florida, because they know I got a bunch of guns. You put that same sort of mentality, nobody's going to break into this country. Now, I don't want to go around shooting people. Nobody wants to shoot anybody. I have guns in my house. I hope I never have to shoot them. But at the end of the day, do not mislead yourself with the other people on this feed in thinking the fact that we don't have ourselves a massive problem here. You got 50 million people collecting checks who shouldn't be collecting checks. If I saw your check on the ground, Lolita, and I saw your name on it, and I said, oh boy, it was made out to cash though, and just has in the memo for Lolita, and I take your check for $500 and I go cash it and put it in my pocket. Am I not a monster? I am. I stole your money. I should be in jail. I shouldn't be getting a swank hotel. Get your head out of your ass and wake up. That's really what it is. That's what Trump is saying to people. Wake up. And Elon Musk is saying, hey, wake up because I'm giving you the receipts. All right. There's no questioning here anymore. And this isn't about, I'll be the first one to say, I've said this all my life. I have a shamrock on my shoulder. I have Irish heritage. I'm also Italian and I'm also German. If you want to make the first three people that we deport a German and an Irish and an Italian national, let me know. I'll drive the plane. Has nothing to do with color, has nothing to do with religion, has just to do with the fact that you're either here legally or you're here illegally. And that is it. There is no bending of these rules. That's it.
It's like what we said earlier in the show, right? I don't want to see people go in such a soft direction on this. I mean, the Frankenstein monster, I mean, it's not even about that. It's just they are robbing this country being here. They're not supposed to be here. That is why we have these laws. And, you know, to go soft on it is definitely a shame to, like, as you said, people have been, Laken Riley. Laken Riley should be at school right now, and she's not. And and why? Because someone killed her who shouldn't be here.
Yeah, you know what the funny thing is? Like this girl here, and I'm not looking to beat her up. I'm trying to wise her up. That girl right there, God forbid she has a sister, right? That comment she just left publicly on Facebook would come back to haunt her. Right? If Laken Riley was this girl's sister, you still think she'd be playing the same freaking, they're not Frankensteins, it's what they're doing in DC? No, she'd be crying and wailing and telling Mr. President Trump, I didn't vote for you, but I wish I did, but it's too late. Yeah, you can't put the horse back in the stable, honey. Now, switching gears here for a second, there's something else that is majorly taking place, and that is that we are inching closer to coming to a resolution of what is happening in Ukraine and Russia. And let me tell you something. I am no fan of Vladimir Putin at all, okay? I think he is a dangerous human being. He is a Frankenstein. But at the end of the day, Mr. Zelensky is a piece of you-know-what, all right? He's a scam artist. If you are the leader of a nation, you don't come over here in your camouflages. He must think we're the most stupid asses in the world. You don't think I understand what you're doing? You're playing me like a Hollywood movie. Keep on taking money, 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 money. I guarantee you, you shake this guy upside down, Fort Knox is coming out of his pockets.
So they obviously just had the discussions in Saudi Arabia,
right.
the delegation, the Russian, and we ran a poll asking readers and viewers, do you support ending the Russia-Ukraine war without Zelensky's input? 70% had said yes, but the rest of the 30% were either no or unsure. What is your take on that? At this point, Zelensky is kind of being difficult with coming to the negotiating table and being reasonable.
I said this yesterday on the show. I'm going to say that today. I'll say it tomorrow if you ask me again. This guy is a turd, all right? If you go back and look at the videos prior to him being the president, he was dancing in his underwear on television. He was a showman. It was a joke that he was running, all right? It was an absolute joke. And believe it or not, the people of Ukraine were like, we'll take it? No, don't think the people of Ukraine say we'll take it. Every single election in this world has been manipulated by USAID and the Democrat Party. So trust me when I tell you, he didn't get in for real. They said, we'll put him in there because we're going to be able to own this guy. He's a freaking wannabe comedian that's on side shows. He wasn't a real actor or real anything like that. He was a wannabe. He said, I'll run for president. And people said, hey, we'll give you a shot. And then all of a sudden, boom, we made it look like the polls were great. And that's why he was in here, so we can manipulate him. Now what's happened is he's been manipulating us, taking all the money. Why? Because he's got all the dirty laundry, all on Joe Biden, all on Barack Obama, all on the USAID, all the people in Washington, D.C. He knows all their dirty stuff because that crackhead Joe Biden's son, Hunter, sat there and had diarrhea of the mouth and said everything when he was stoned on crack with God knows what prostitute laying next to him. He's like, hey, did I ever tell you about what Lindsey Graham did? This is the kind of stuff. And this is why Lindsey Graham right now is on the 47 report. Lindsey Graham, we have a budget. We're doing budgeting. In the Republicans are trying to put together a budget, a spending plan to push through Trump's agenda. And what does Lindsey Graham put through? He wants $48 billion for Ukraine. He wants to fund them until 2030. We got problems here in the United States. We just revealed that we've got billions and hundreds of billions of dollars flying out of this country to BS things. And that war hawk, the guy who can't find himself a woman, he's still single to this day. God knows what he's doing in closed doors, sitting there saying, yeah, I want to give more money to Ukraine. Why? I'll tell you why. Because he's got dirty laundry. Who knows what he's done in the back rooms when he's been at Ukraine and who he's done it with. And that's what it is. All these people in Washington, D.C., like Trump said, they've all got skeletons in the closet. That's why they're all searching, criminal lawyer, how do I get out of jail card, all this different stuff. Zelensky's got to go. He's a turd. He can't go head to head with Putin or Trump. He can't negotiate. Who wants him there? Are you kidding me? It's like us having a town hall meeting with the top brass and saying, let's get the homeless guy and the illegal alien to get their input. Oh, by the way, are they drinking? Yeah, well, bring them on in. But we want everybody's voice. Zelensky's a mess. Go home, comb your hair, take the money that you stole from us, and disappear.
What's up with South Carolina? Why do they keep voting this guy in?
I have no
He
idea.
always seems like he is fighting for another country rather than any of his constituents.
Ryan says it all the time. Whenever we get any negative comments about the 47 report, you've got to be an absolute schmuck to say something bad about the 47 report or to report it as spam. In fact, you have got to have a level of stupid that movies can't even write about, all right? You have to be just so unintelligent. And you know what Ryan says all the time? He's like, Dad, anytime we get a bad email from somebody, it always stems back to South Carolina. So I don't know what they're putting in the peanut butter and jelly there, but whatever it is, go organic. All right. So to that extent, here's President Trump talking about that little turd Zelensky that the Democrat Party just seems to love. Go ahead, Ryan.
We're hearing that Russia wants to force Ukraine to hold new elections in order to sign any kind of a peace deal. Is that something that the U.S. would ever support?
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have martial law, or essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating, and where a country has been blown to smithereens. You got most of the cities are laying on their sides. The buildings are collapsed. It looks like a massive demolition site. The whole, I mean, so many of the cities. I mean, they haven't done it in Kiev because I guess they don't want to shoot too many rockets in there. They've done it 20%, but they haven't done it 100%. If they wanted to do it 100%, it would probably happen very quickly. But you have cities that are absolutely decimated. And yeah, I would say that, you know, when they want a seat at the table, you could say the people have to, wouldn't the people of Ukraine have to say, like, you know, it's been a long time since we've had an election. That's not a Russia thing. That's something coming from me and coming from many other countries also, is that we gave him. Well, we gave them, I believe, $350 billion, but let's say it's something less than that, but it's a lot. And we have to equalize with Europe because Europe has given us given a very much smaller percentage than that. I think Europe has given 100 billion, and we've given, let's say, 300 plus. And it's more important for them than it is for us. We have an ocean in between, and they don't. But where is all the money that's been given? Where is it going? And nobody, I've never seen an accounting of it. We give hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't see any accounting. So I want to see peace. Look, you know why I want? Because I don't want all these people killed anymore. I'm looking at people that is that.
He says it, you know, I mean, I think he craves it. He wants to be peacemaker. He's not a fan of, you know, watching soldiers, you know, die at such a young age for a war that they're, you know, no chance of winning. It's almost, as you said earlier, it's just common sense. It's why, like, you know, when you see something like Lindsey Graham wants to give all that money. I mean, I can't stand Democrats, but I despise Rhino Republicans.
Oh,
at least Democrats, you know what you're getting with.
Yep.
Nothing worse than voting for someone in and not following your will whatsoever. But, you know, as long as Ukraine gets more money, because we know Zelensky's not using it on business suits.
Of course, no, he's not. And you know what? I mean, you know, if I'm going to nitpick here, Zelensky doesn't even come over with real fatigues.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Fake.
He doesn't even come over with real fatigues. He's got these fake little brownies. Now, we're going to add, you know what, Ryan, what we're going to do is we're going to save the video for the executive order. We'll save that for tomorrow's show because that's a big topic. Trump signed an executive order late last night that he wants to take control of all the agencies that are out there. Ones that would answer into Congress, he wants them answering into him. And he believes Article 2 of the Constitution gives him that. So that's a big conversation. We're going to say that tomorrow. But I want to end the show here with videos that will make you say, F Ukraine, if you haven't already said it. So these two videos are flying around. Now, I can't confirm that this isn't some yahoos in South Carolina who are hanging out in the backwoods and, you know, dressed in camo and know how to speak the language of the Ukrainian. I can't guarantee that. But these two videos right here that we play, we combine them together. Let's assume for the moment that this is authentic and that these are actually Ukrainian soldiers who are basically burning down Trump. Play it.
Звертаємося до Дональда Трампа. Через тебе, паскуда, президенту Зеленському не відправляли зброю. Тобі більше не бути президентом. Ти зрадник і заплатиш кров'ю за те, що зробив.
Слава Україні!
Трамп, ти фейковий президент. Нам не потрібен твій мирний план. Ти зрадник та боягуз. Україна переможе, а ти згориш, як твої смердючі книжки.
Yeah, so that if that is the Ukrainian soldier who's doing that, it's time for us to just get the hell out.
Yeah.
Give Zelensky his problems and his people over to the Europeans. Like Trump said in the video clip, there's an ocean that separates us. This is not our problem. Let's get back to common sense solutions. Common sense solutions, Lindsey Graham, cost money here in the United States. I don't want another one of my dollars going to Ukraine. Bottom line, case closed. I'm not going to apologize for it. And the American people don't want it either, Dennis.
No,
they don't want it.
It's not our problem. If it's Lindsey Graham's and Joe Biden's problem, you guys go handle it, and maybe you guys go fight the front lines with them. You know, Keith Starmer is sending his troops, right? But it's not my problem. It's not your problem. It's not the American people's problem. Our problem is illegal immigration, inflation, making sure that, you know, our borders and our security is refined. I mean, we have a lot of our own issues that we got to address. Maybe Lindsey Graham needs to reapply his focus here.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, the people of South Carolina keep on putting them in. So, you know, get your head checked, I guess. I don't know what's going on over there. But anyway, real quick, rounding it all out. 47report.com. You get the newsletter every single day. And then on Wednesday afternoon, you're going to wind up getting the Make America Healthy Again newsletter. It's fantastic stuff. You'd love it completely for free. You get in there, you share it. The more people know what's going on with this administration, the more likely it is that we're going to start getting some laws passed. If you want to know, why should I share this? Right then and there. Because if these Republicans don't start putting laws into place to protect what Trump is doing on executive orders, this is going to be a really short slide. It's going to be a short slide, and we're going to be right back to hell. Trust me on that one. 47report.com. All you need is an email address, and you're good to go. If you are a Team DML member, Denny, myself, and Ryan are now in the next 15 minutes switching over to teamdml.com, where we have a live Zoom, and our members come in, and we kind of just hang around and have conversations, and we do that for about 15, 20 minutes, and it's a lot of fun. So if you're a Team DML member listening to this, go on over, log into Team DML if you're not there already, get into the live chat, and we will be there in the next 15 minutes. You'll get an alert on the DML News app. If you don't have the DML News app, everybody, download it for free from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. That's it for us. Thank you so much. I know I was a little wild today on the show, but once in a while we get to a topic and it pisses me off, and then I just got to let that piss slide through. I don't know. I'm using crazy words. Until the next time, may God bless you, your family, these United States, and of course, as always, Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance.
And today's Team DML blessing goes out to Teresa Bell.
All right, Teresa. Hey, make sure everybody you hit the share button now that you're leaving me. We'll talk to you soon.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.